Hey, happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back to the Shout Out Show with me, your host, Preacher Moss. And it is a glorious Saturday for several reasons. Number one, I got to actually do some work where I got to get out in the community and help some people. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's so close to Mother's Day. I'm really, really excited for our Mother's Day program. Remember, we're going to be going at 1 o'clock tomorrow for people who want to shout out their moms. I'm going to probably have my mom on, or I'm not sure I'm going to do it, but I'm just really in this space, very, very happy space, a very grateful space, looking at giving people their flowers while they're here. The topic of today's show is the comedian that knew too much. Now, I don't want you guys to think that's me. I know a lot of things, but I don't know as much as some of the people I'm going to talk about. This is a really, really, really important topic and a fun topic, actually. Looking at the role of comedians in society. Like right now, we have this COVID crisis, and I'm going to give you guys some backstory for a comedian that talked to me about the COVID crisis before it ever showed up. And he gave me this amazing context that is funny, but just illuminating on what we're actually going through right now. That comedian's name was Dick Gregory. But before I get into that, I want to again give a shout out to um, investigators down in Georgia who are giving due process to this prosecution of two men that killed Ahmaud Arbery. I really appreciate that. That was a topic early on this show, and admittedly I was emotional. I was heated, if you will, and I would have naturally been heated. I didn't know Brother Ahmaud, but I know the injustice, and the injustice was enough to spur me. So for that, I am very, very thankful. But I was doing something today that most of you have done, probably participated in the food distribution for those who are in need. I don't like to say poor because that's not particularly accurate. It's people who are in need. Sometimes you're in need at different parts of your life. So you have to be careful about how you use words. Like they say, words make man is all the term I always had. But this idea of COVID-19 is an interesting piece because it defines something that someone told me a while ago. In this case, the comedian that knew too much. The comedian that I'm talking about, again, is Mr. Dick Gregory. If you don't know Dick Gregory, you should probably Google him. You should probably look for his albums on YouTube or Apple because he was technically the comedian that knew too much. He's one of the few comedians who worked in a space whereby he was the comedic voice for the civil rights movement and for the civil rights movement, also movements beyond that space, which were absolutely amazing. And I want to give some shout outs to Sister Tough from Seattle, my main man from Charlotte. Love you, guy. Walaikum assalam. I'm talking about your guy, Dick Gregory. So pay attention. Several years ago, I think it was maybe 2012, I had a show, Allah Made Me Funny show in Washington, D.C. Now, for you that don't know, I'm a huge Dick Gregory disciple. If you are a big fan of Allah Made Me Funny and have followed us, he was the person who actually spurred me on to do it. I was doing a show at Kansas State University some years ago, and it was a show for Black leadership groups for the Big 12. And we were doing this thing, and it was after 9/11 and all of that, and I had seen him earlier, way early, and I was telling him about this idea about Allah Made Me Funny. And he chided me for it. He's like, what are you waiting on? What are you waiting to be Christian? Do the thing. So I was very happy. I was very happy when I told him I was going to do it. Now, flash forward, I'm doing an Allah Made Me Funny show at a place. It's a defunct comedy club called the Riot Act. I sound like such a comedian now. It's a defunct comedy club called the Riot Act in Washington, D.C. It just opened. And the owner knew, sound like him, Danny? The owner knew Dick Gregory. Like he knew him. And I'm like, I know him. But when I talked to Dick Gregory, it was sort of like a student teacher relationship. He was a mentor, hands down, just so you guys know. He was technically, historically, he was the first black comedian that was allowed to talk directly to a white audience. And he and I had long conversations about that, along with Nipsey Russell. But this particular time, I'm in DC, we're getting a show. The owner of the club says, I got a surprise for you. I'm like, what's that? And he goes, Dick Gregory's coming out to see your see your show, see your set. And I'm like, I'm freaking out because I'm like, what's up, T? Big T? I'm freaking out because Dick Gregory is my mentor. You know, he's a role model for me. He's an inspiration for me. But he's coming to see the show, the Allah Made Me Funny show. And here's the killer part: he doesn't go out to watch other comedians, or he doesn't do that. He's like, that's not his thing. And I understand he's a master comic. So he comes to see the show. I'm a little nervous. Your boy's a little nervous. Now I have a good show. Alhamdulillah, I have a good show. But here's the deal. Dick Gregory, being the teacher he is, when the show is over, normally you have a little break in between, 45 hour, you're relaxing. He took me in the corner stairwell of this club and he grilled me for 45 minutes about comedic content, resources, how am I researching these things, how am I writing the jokes, am I doing material to follow up later? Because everything is if you say it on a Monday, you need to be able to talk about it on a Tuesday on an expanded basis. So the cat's a genius, right? And we are talking, and I did a joke. This is how crazy it is right now in the era of Trump. I did a joke about the Tea Party, about black people joining the Tea Party. I said you have Democrats, you have Republicans, you have Tea Party. I said you have black people that don't respect themselves, want to be Republican. I guess they're called Sweet Tea Party. And he loved that joke, but he was like, it went a whole nother space with him. Like, you need to be talking about how Muslims and blacks don't have their own political action committees. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even want to go there, but I'm here now. But he said something. He said, let me break something down to you about life. And I'm like, I'm going to be here forever. I'm going to miss the show. He goes, no. He says, you have to understand bare essence of things. And I'm like, okay. He said, when you travel all over. I said, yes, sir, I travel all over. He said, what have you seen lately? And this is like 2012. I don't know. But long story short, man, the guy goes, the country's in trouble. I'm like, word? He goes, no. He goes, it's in trouble in a very explainable, organic way. And I'm like, what does that mean? It means that the richest of the rich can't save themselves and the poorest of the poor can't save themselves. I was like, what are you talking about? And he goes, well, watch this movie. And I'm like, Mr. I'll do anything you want to. Watch this movie. The movie was called Planet of the Apes. And in Planet of the Apes, you have this company that's trying to come up with this formula or whatever. And they practice it on monkeys and all this type of stuff. But here's my point. There's part of the thing where the experiment goes awry and a virus takes over, if you will. A virus takes over, much the same as it is now. And you have the mass extermination of human beings and the rise of monkeys, apes, if you will. I'm sorry. If there's any monkeys out there listening, I apologize. I meant to say apes, gorillas, orangutans. All right. Being politically correct. What he was saying was there's always been the possibility that things will reveal themselves where the human being or the human condition can't explain it away and you can't fix it. And I'm like, wow. And he said, the spiritual understanding of being able to say, I don't know, and I'm sorry. He goes, they've dissipated. And I'm like, Mr. Gregory, this is amazing stuff. He said, put it in your pocket. He said, it'll be worth something in about, 8, 9 years. Ironically, it's 2020, and now it's worth something because we're going through it right now. I mean, it's an innovative time for comedians, but unlike the time we had with Dick Gregory, like if Richard Pryor was our Hank Aaron, then Dick Gregory was our Josh Gibson and our Willie Mays. You see what I'm saying? The era of comedians who know what to say to keep everybody happy, that's where we are now. But I'm talking about guys who know what a situation is, guys who understand and place. Think about Allah Made Me Funny. Let me tell you a little bit about that. Allah Made Me Funny was not what a lot of people think it was. If you go to the website's gone now, whatever. But if you went to it, the idea of Allah Made Me Funny was we were going to pull Muslim communities together, and we're gonna get to the thing of this indigenous immigrant piece. We're gonna put them all in a room. We're gonna use comedy to do it, and we're gonna train them about the importance of their own self-identity, claiming it before somebody gives it to you. Why is that important? Years ago, I went out to California to meet a man. His name is Harry Weber. Now, the significance of Harry Weber, and you'll probably hear his name often throughout my podcast. Harry Weber was the first artistic director of Motown. I found out this guy on when I was researching something for a Gatorade ad, and there was a blog called Kiss My Black Ads. It was an advertising blog. I'm not lying. Kiss My Black Ads. Black advertising people would go here, and he put up something about Gatorade, and it was just amazing stuff. Turns out he's a real dude, and I called this guy up on a whim. I do this stuff. You guys probably do too. I'm gonna get my brother here. Congratulations on your book, beloved. Appreciate it. Please pick out Muhammad Fraser Rahim's book. Can you text me, put it in the comment so I can let people know about it? An extremely good book. He takes a call from me, and I tell him the Muslims are getting beaten up to death, our image and stuff like that. And he goes, no. And he goes, it's not like that. And I'm like, no, it's like that. I'm very, pro-Muslim. And I literally said, listen, you are a genius genius type dude. Can I come out to California, rap with you? And my whole idea was, how can we improve the image of Muslims in the United States? And the guy said, well, listen, if you get a plane out here, come out to LA. We'll meet at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles on Sunset and Gower, and I'll tell you what you need to know. I'm like, I bet. I get on a plane, I leave, I fly out. So we're sitting there eating chicken. It wasn't halal, just so you know. Roscoe's does not serve halal chicken. There's nothing there that's halal except the water and the Coca-Cola. So get over yourself. He says, what did you want to do? And I said, I'm a Muslim comedian. I'm doing this thing with Allah Made Me Funny, and I want to reach out, and I want to help my people. I want to teach them to fight, blah, 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 blah. He goes, stop. He goes, what are you trying to do? I said, I'm trying to improve the image of Muslims. At this point in time, he goes, it can't be done. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because, of course, I've been dealing with Dick Gregory. He goes, it can't be done. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, listen. He said, you want to improve the image of Muslims? I said, yeah. I said, how old are you? I said, well, I think I was like, I don't know, maybe 40 or something. He goes, you're not old enough. I was like, how old? I was like, how old do I need to be? He was like, however old W.D. Muhammad is or Elijah Muhammad is, you'll never be that old. And I'm like getting upset. Also because, I paid for the food, so I'm getting insulted. Yes, these are halal at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, the waffles. Thank you, brother. So, yes, we are talking, we're having this conversation, and he goes, you can't change the image of Muslims in America or the world. I go, why? He goes, because you don't know how much money went into making that image. And I'm like, yo, did you just say that to me? He's like, yeah. He goes, let me help you out. He says, write a byline, like you were doing a press release. Write a byline about what you will say. And I said, okay, cool. For everybody that's watching this is the value of being the person that knows too much. He says, write a press line, like a line that will catch a copy editor's eye. And I go, hey, listen, Muslim comedian sets out to improve image of Muslims in America. And he looks at it, I write it on a chicken bag or something. I give it to him, and he goes, I can't say what he said because the son, he goes, this is BS. I'm like, what? Hey, Sister Sid, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum. He goes, this is BS. The line I wrote was Muslim comedian says how to improve image. He goes, you don't understand. That's what I'm telling you about. And of course, I'm getting heated. He says, give me the bag. I give it to him. He takes a Sharpie. He scratches out what I wanted. And this is magic, brothers and sisters, magic. He scratches out what I want. Then he rewrites just something. He gives it back to me. He goes, now read it. And he says, Muslim comedian sets out to raise $100 million to improve the image of Muslims in America. He said, you just created $100 million barrier to about 98% of the people you would have to deal with. And I sat back like, wow. And I thought back and I said, that's something that Mr. Gregory would tell me. He goes, who do you think I got it from? Brothers and sisters, we're in a time right now where things don't look promising, but they do look possible. They do look possible. And I would encourage everyone to understand that a lot of what you have to deal with is not the masses. It's the one or two things that you have to fine tune. If you ever want to know about black comedy was never black comedy. Black comedy was liberation. Okay? Black comics could talk about white situations, black situations, but through a black lens. No other comics can ever do that in the world. None. I appreciate Mr. Gregory for two reasons. Number one, he was a truthful man. Number two, he didn't talk as much as he did. He was a doer. He was a talker on stage, but he did things. Man, Oliver, love you, man. That's my main man right there, people. Man, Oliver, we're going to do those shows to prison, too. I swear, as soon as things calm down, I'm coming down. You know that. Word is bond. Good man. But I'm encouraging everybody to look through the lens of what you're seeing now, through a little bit of a comedic lens. And I'm not talking about the deaths and stuff like that. I've made some jokes about COVID, like I talk about, I told my wife, I said, we should work on social distancing. She said, what do you have in mind? I said, I want a divorce. You can see that's fun. That's fun. Okay, all right, maybe that's not fun. I hope she's not watching. Okay, look. My point is, I'm inviting people through a comedic lens to start looking at things, not just as comedians, not just people, but forecasting. I had a great understanding, a great relationship with Mr. Gregory when we would sit and talk, which is some of the best times you ever had. I wound up doing his 80th. I emceed his 80th birthday party. Let me say it again. I hosted and emceed his 80th birthday party at that same club, the Riot Club, the Riot Act Comedy Club. And God is my witness. Allah is my witness. He was 80 years old. He was on stage close to 3 hours. Close to 3 hours. Only person that ever comes close to doing that is Dave Chappelle. But Dave gets it from someplace. And we all bow down to the comedy temple of Dick Gregory. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you, I made it. No. Dick Gregory made me make a conscious decision about what kind of comedian I wanted to be. And it allowed me to do all that made me funny. Because as much as I wanted to be a comedian, I was going to have to be a teacher to be able to do the things that I'm trying to do now. Like right now, the comedy scene it's okay. It's Dave Chappelle and a bunch of other people that want to be Dave Chappelle. But in the Muslim comedy game right now, we don't have enough comedians that know too much. They know what they're told, and they know what to do when they're told to do it. I am pushing for a new dictum, if you will, a new stratagem, if you will, that we can expand things. So I'm doing things like the ShOUT show because I want to have a different kind of reach. I know I'm funny. Just so people know, I've been funny a long time. Being funny is easy. The hard part is being funny consistently, and the even harder part is being funny consistently, have people pay for it. I am the worst comedian because I don't go along to get along. I say what I mean what I say. That's the thing. That's what makes us special, though. And I would encourage all of us, to pick up some recording of Dick Gregory. I always remember his joke about going down south, man. He said he went down south. He said he spent 20 years down south one night. And he said he went to a restaurant and I'm paraphrasing it, but he said he went to a restaurant. And the guy said, we don't serve niggas here. And Dick Gregory responded, I don't eat niggas. Bring me some chicken. And so the guy comes back. He goes, He goes, whatever you do to that chicken, I'm gonna do to you. And so Dick Gregory said he turned the chicken around and kissed it on the butt. Now, I can't make that stuff up because if you look at the history of Dick Gregory as an activist, he literally did those things. He got shot for voters' rights in Mississippi. Food. We're talking about food distribution. This is people who are not allowed to have food as a means to blocking them from voting. They used to do food lifts into, I think it's Greenville, Mississippi, something like that. But I mean, we're talking about people just pulling up in their car, pop your trunk. Giving you food, and that gives me leave, if you will. It gives me inspiration, if you will, to get through this type of situation. Like to me, I'm not a funny guy. When you see me on stage, a lot of times I'm just trying to figure out the world. And comedy is a language that I use it to do it. That's how I unlock these puzzles. You know, a lot of people when they turn into the shout out show, they're like, "Oh, it's gonna be jokes, jokes, jokes." I'm like, "Nah, dude. I'm a talker. I'm a thinker." In the words of my sixth grade teacher, Miss Alvita Jones, she said, "If you're gonna be a comedian, don't be a clown." Miss Jones, I'm still trying to hold that line. But my word to you, brothers and sisters, that tune into the shout out show is, you know what? Every once in a while, we need to investigate that little Dick Gregory in us. Like we know Richard Pryor because Richard was loud and gregarious, and he lived out his dramas. He lived out his tragedies on stage. And admittedly, we like to see a train wreck. And as brilliant as he was, uh, that's how devastating his fall was. Dick Gregory was not. Dick Gregory was an interesting guy because in his 80s, we sat in the back of a comedy club and he said he's at a point where he questions if he lived out his purpose. And I was amazed by this. He goes, all the people that I was in a movement with, he said, they're all gone. You know, Malcolm, Medgar, Martin, all these people, um, even Muhammad Ali, who he was intensely close with, and you feel these things, man. And I think that was really beautiful. But just the fact that he was a kind man. He went through a lot. But when I say he went through a lot, it was interesting. Yeah, yeah. Carlin, like Patrice O'Neal was cool, man. He was cool. He was smart comic, But he wasn't on that level, man. Carlin, close. Carlin was a genius type dude. He did some bits that are amazing, but that's out of that core group. Richard Pryor, but Dick Gregory is ahead of them. Dick Gregory's that guy that's ahead of him. He literally makes it okay for these guys to do that stuff. Um, a lot of people don't talk about Dick Gregory and Bill Cosby, and a lot of times I don't even think they ever worked together. They may have. They did causes together. That's what I know. They did causes together. I believe that Dick Gregory really inspired a lot of activism in Bill Cosby, um, and definitely Rich Pryor. But when you start thinking about it, man, I have to think back to that 45-minute roasting I took at the Riot Act some years ago when he was telling me about the movie Planet of the Apes, the new movie. And he was saying, watch, I think everybody should watch that. I think everybody should rewatch that because there's some things that are happening now that have strange parallels to what were in that movie. Just to add, just the abyss that people throw in, that just it's this weird abyss of just arrogance, pridefulness. As Muslims, these are things we're supposed to stay away from. But I find these are the things that sell. These are the things that sell. The less clothes you wear, the more you be on TV. The louder you are, the more people listen to you. The more outrageous you are, the more irrational you are. The camera stays on. I mean, we talk about social media. It's really anti-social media, in the words of George Clinton. It's anti-social media. It has worked to further separate us. For everybody that's on social media, what's interesting is like we're talking through machines to other people. That's why I love stand up so much. I'm just hoping that shows will come back at some point in time. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. They're talking about no live large scale events until fall 2021. And I do believe it because the Olympics got canceled. You're talking about something that was scheduled for 4 years and they canceled it. There's no plan B if there's no Olympics in Japan in 2021. I mean, this is the realities of it. And what Mr. Gregory was saying is extremely correct because society has a way of filtering intelligence if it doesn't like what you're saying. Let me say that again. Society has a way of filtering intelligence if it doesn't like what you're saying. It's like in the Quran, one of my favorite surahs is Surah Asr, which is the idea of time. Throughout time, mine is in loss, except such as have. And it was paraphrased to me, I think, by Sheikh Hamza Yusuf through, I think, Azhar Zaman. And the idea is that it's like an idea. You can have an idea that's great, that's amazing, that's phenomenal. However, if society doesn't feel the same way, it's a great idea still, but it's just a great idea to you. Thus, you have to have patience for it to be a great idea to everybody else. Brothers and sisters, we hit our time. We hit our 26 mark, and I don't do long shows. Tomorrow might be the longest show we ever do. It's going to be the shout out show, but it's going to be a shout out show on Mother's Day. We're going to give some mothers some flowers while they're here. It's going to be a special time. It's going to be 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern, and do the math for everybody else. But I want to shout out everybody that came. We have people that tuned in from South Africa. Sister, listen, there you go. Thank you for coming. Yusuf, thank you for coming. Amila, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Brother Danny, you're back. I appreciate you. Look, we had everybody here. My main man. Here's my man, Imam Z. Thank you for coming. Tarek, homie, Big T. Jabril. Jabril is down in Jabril Gold Brother, man. He is down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he gets like backstage passes. And he takes pictures with some of the dopest artists like I've ever seen. Like I get a little like, dude, how'd you get a picture with Big Daddy Kane and da da da? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I have a question here. And let's see. What do we do with people who remind us each year that every day is Mother's Day in Islam? Don't buy him a gift. No, I'm just kidding. You know what? I understand people saying that. But let me say this and I'll get off. Mothers are underrated, man. I talked about it yesterday. Mothers are underrated. The love that a mother has is unparalleled. I mean, father's love is strong, but a mother's love is physical. Like a mother carries a child for a certain amount of months. Her whole body politics changes because of a child. And I'm gonna say her whole body politics changes because of a child. And that connection with that child is, that is, I think only God, only Allah can define or understand that. A man really can't understand. We just kind of sit in the back, like, all right, I'm over here when you need me. We have to give our mothers, our ladies, we have to give them their flowers now. You have to do it now. And I'm not saying it to be preachy, but I'm saying that it has to be looked upon as a discipline. Telling a child you love them is great. Telling a child why you love them is purposeful. And we have to tell our moms. I deal with my mom every day. If you say Preacher Moss is a mama's boy, you will not get a peep out of me. I'll be like, absolutely. But it's because my mother and I have gone through certain struggles that made us better as individuals and people in terms of family. And the fact that I understand that her connection to the world, her connection and how she sees creation is the thing that has allowed me to be me on a consistent basis. Miles Davis and Coltrane and all those guys, out of all of them, Thelonious Monk had the greatest quote, man, about music, but it's metaphorical. He goes, in music, there are no bad notes. They're just better choices. When you're a mother, there are no bad notes. You're just making the best choice that you can. That space is what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. 1 o'clock, if you guys want to. I have my email on here. I think I messed up, but in any event, come on back tomorrow, 1 o'clock. I'm going to put it up tonight so people can know and bring your shout outs for your mom. It's a Mother's Day show tomorrow. Today's show, I hope you enjoyed it. It wasn't as funny as I wanted to be. I just kind of got caught up talking about Dick Gregory because the guy, he made me laugh so hard to the point I love myself a lot more. And if you ever see me on stage, I like to make my Muslim brothers and sisters laugh, my non-Muslim brothers and sisters laugh with the material, because in the end, all I want you to do is smile and love yourself just a little bit more. So I will see you tomorrow, and wish you the best. And thank you for tuning in. It's Preacher Mars Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Stay blessed. And for those who can't come, sisters, in advance, happy Mother's Day.